All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Coach's Corner, another edition with Amy. I am so excited to have this topic being discussed. Again, another, I think, really interesting way to look at the mental load and what professional women are going through and the seasons of the month, basically. A lot of things change within 1 month for us. But yeah, let's open up this conversation and talk about what is going on with our hormones.
Yeah. So for any female-bodied human, somebody who is has or is bleeding on a monthly basis, or for some who are moving through perimenopause, it may be coming quicker or longer. But we need to start with an idea of, we are cyclical beings. So female-bodied people are cyclical beings. I mean, male-bodied people are too, but their cycles are much, much longer. We tend to have cycles that move very quickly through each month. And some things that I've learned over the years, and a lot of what I'm going to share with you comes from my own lived experience, but also learning and reading the book Do Less by Kate Northrup. I highly recommend that book. And just some other lived experience that I've had in understanding that we are cyclical beings, and we can either fight against it or we can work with it. And so much of our work world, our professional world, talks about productivity, right? We have to be productive. And unfortunately, the way that it's designed still is a very masculine model of productivity, that you keep pushing, there are deadlines, there are things. And I have learned that in understanding my own body, that I have cycles and seasons that if I am actually in flow with them, my productivity increases, not because I'm trying to do more, but because I'm working with what I have, and I'm working with
Right.
who I am. And so there's this idea of capacity, right? And so instead of kind of flipping it on its head, like productivity is not so much a rate of output, but also considering it's a rate of our capacity to hold things. And we have to know our own boundaries and use our own rhythms and cycles to be more, to maximize our capacity to the best that we can, which when we are filled, when we have energy, we have things to give. But when we're depleted, we have nothing to give. But if we keep pushing, we put ourselves at risk of burnout and harming ourselves, our relationships, and our productivity as well. So what I've taught is this idea, and we can look at seasons in general, and I'm not going to talk a lot about seasons, but I think it's important to understand that we do have seasons in our life, and we have seasons in the year, and that layered on top of our monthly cycle, it's important to think about that there are times in each season to do different things, right? So the fall is a time for harvesting and cultivating. It's a balanced energy time where we can be productive and do lots of things. Whereas when we move into the winter time, it's cold. We want to go inward, and that's normal. And we should listen to that and not try to do as many things. Of course, the holidays come right in the middle of winter and we push ourselves really hard. But I really caution people to think about, what do I have the capacity to put out there? And then spring comes and we have energy again, and things blossom and they unfold, and we begin to want to plant more things and grow more things. And then by summertime, it's a very high energy time, but we also run the risk of burnout, because when it's hot and we want to go, we can deplete ourselves as well. So we have to think about the seasons and the cycles that we're in. And so when we move and think about our monthly cycle, they actually fall in a similar line to our seasonal cycles. So if we think about, let's just start with when we're bleeding. And if you're not bleeding, if you're somebody who's going through perimenopause or is in menopause, I encourage you to think about it as the moon cycle. So we can line it up, and sometimes our moon cycles, sometimes our bleeding cycles will match the moon cycle. Sometimes they're opposite. It doesn't matter. Follow your bleed, or follow the moon if you're not bleeding. And this will help you to understand and to get into this flow and rhythm of a cycle. So we think about the new moon, which could also be the same as wintertime, is our menstruation, or what Kate Northrup calls the fertile void. And this is, I had a lot of people in my class previously, they got really scared about this idea of the void and like nothingness. And I was like, remember, it's the fertile void. It's this really rich time, right? So in the winter time, in the fall, we planted our seeds to grow. They're under the soil, they're covered up by all the snow or whatever. But they're still germinating, they're still growing. And so when we're in our menstruation time, really listen to your own body. Some people have more energy, but a lot of people have less energy. They feel more tired,
Right.
feel less capacity. And so you want to use that time as more of the fertile void of creativity, of drawing in, of listening, of checking in with your own self, of knowing. And what I've learned to do is actually in my calendar, put, fertile void in my calendar for about 5 days.
Yeah.
When I'm scheduling appointments or classes or doing anything, I will be like, oh, maybe that's not the best day to schedule.
Right.
Maybe that's a better day to like do some self-care, to lighten my load, do a little more internal work. If I have to work, maybe I'm just doing things that I can the things that I have to create, right? So this is the fertile void. Then, and having some downtime. Don't go to that extra dinner. Don't go out in the evening time. Take that time, be quiet, allow your body to rest and recover, and, allow the juices to flow. Then we move into the quarter moon, or the follicular phase. And this is emergence.
Right.
Now we have energy, right? Our hormones we actually have a little blip in hormones that comes up at menstruation. And for some people, like I said, they may have some energy. It may come like on your second or third day. Then we move into emergence. And this is the time for planning, preparing, and figuring things out. Our brain is actually opening to this idea of organizing and figuring out things. Okay. So this is
you can be creative. This is creative time.
Exactly. But it's organizing time. It's like figuring out time. It's processing. It's, what is my schedule going to be for the next 4 weeks? What's my calendar going to look like? If I have a marketing calendar, this is the time to really plan that out, is in your follicular phase, or this planning phase. Then we get to the full moon, or ovulation, or this would be summertime, right? And this is when we want to be visible. So if we are somebody who's doing a talk, who teaches, who's going to go out and have networking time, this is the time to do that. When we're visible, we want to be visible. We have our hormones are in such a place where we are, think about it. Why do we have our hormones in such a place where we're exuberant? Because that's the time when we're fertile. When it comes to male and female relationships, is the time where we're, wanting to draw people into our energy. So allow that to be the time to share your greatest gifts. It's the time to be filming, to be sharing, to be to be in the limelight.
Social time.
Yeah, social time, expression time, teaching time, whatever that is. Then we move into our luteal phase. It's our the 3/4 moon. It's our culmination. It's the this is fall, right? It's the harvesting time. It's okay, I'm getting ready to move back into my fertile void pretty soon. Let's get it done. Let's check things off our to-do list. If you want to have a to-do list, this is the time to have it. Okay, what have I not finished in the last month? What do I need to complete? It's you ever feel that? I feel it naturally. Like there's a time where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to make all the appointments for my life, for my kids, figure these things out. If I'm looking at the calendar, usually I can see, oh, you know what? I am moving into the luteal phase. I am wanting to wrap things up. It's the time to focus on details. So if you're writing a report, this is the time to like really dial it in, edit it, get it ready to go. So when we get into this flow and this cycle of knowing, like, I don't have to do everything all the time, And this may be something,
Mm-hmm.
depending on, how you're working or what your work environment is like, to talk to your supervisor about this, to talk if you're not self-employed. If you are self-employed, how amazing is it that you can design your own world a lot of times? Now, it doesn't mean you don't do those things that you have to do. It's like, I can't control, you're like, what do you mean? Like, I can't control when
Yeah, no.
things are happening or when these things are happening. So what it means is that when you have an awareness of where you are, you know how much you can put out. You know how much out
Right.
you can do, and also to have grace for yourself, to say, you know what, I'm going to have to do this thing, but I'm not going to do it full out, and I'm going to be okay with it, because I'm not in the place where, if it was a different time of the month, I might feel really energized to do it, but I'm just going to do
Right.
it, and I'm going to do it as best I can and give myself the grace. Because I think what I see often are women sort of beating up on themselves, and why am I not more productive? Why do I feel like I'm pushing a boulder up a hill? Why does it feel so hard right now? And it's not that you don't have the ability to do these things. It may just be that you're in a different part of your cycle where your energy is
Mm-hmm.
not where it would normally be. And so we have to have some grace
Yeah.
around that. So
I think it's really
that,
about honoring your energy. We really have to honor our energy and where we're at there. And if you don't notice, or if your cycle is not regular and you're kind of all over the place, all the more reason to get a handle on it, start
yeah,
getting into regularity to be able to use that. This is about increasing your efficiency, increasing your productivity. And if you know where you are, all the more reason to, use what we've got, like you said.
yes. So, yeah, and we can layer these kinds of cycles in the course of a day as well. As a female, we are cyclical throughout a day. And really what it comes down to is just really listening. So the first thing, it's not like, this is not something you just plug in and go, okay, here's how it works. This is just a call to each woman to say, okay, I'm going to spend the next month really paying attention first. I want to really listen to what's happening to my
Right.
own body and what's happening in my own cycles and how I'm actually feeling. And keeping a log for about 3 months will give you a really good sense of, like, checking in. How do I feel physically? How do I feel mentally and emotionally? Where's my energy at? What am I excited about, and what am I dreading? And when you think about those things as you're sort of journaling each day and really tracking, and where am I in my cycle? If you do this for a few months' time, you're going to have a much better handle on what actually works for you and doesn't work for you. And when you know that, you can design or attempt to design your life so that you are maximizing your output and inputs. You are filling up your cup at the times that are appropriate to fill up your cup, and sharing and doing the big work when you have the most capacity to do that. So that's
You can
my
take this concept into exercising, how are you supposed to exercise at each phase? You can take this
yes,
into food, you can take this into productivity. So I
yeah,
really want everyone to hear that this is not just about, okay, how do I work? Although that's
yeah,
what we talked about today, how to work, but really it's how do I eat to,
yeah,
feel the best optimally? How do I exercise to burn the most
yeah,
calories during the month? Because,
yeah,
we all want to look great, but we have to honor the energy. Honor the
yeah.
energy, and you'll see a shift.
Yes. So yeah, as a nutritional therapist, I do this with my clients as well, is, at certain times of the month, you have to listen to what your body's asking for. And if it's asking for more
Mm-hmm.
fuel, a lot of times we may start to feel cravings for sugar or sweet. And what I always say is, well, really listen, like, have you had enough carbohydrates today? If you have, what your body's really asking for is just fuel. And if you're close to your menstruation time, more essential fatty acids and proteins are going to be more nourishing, even though that's what your body is calling for. You've got to listen to your cycles and know when it's appropriate to have what, when it's appropriate to have more warm things, right? Think of in the winter time and in our quieter times in our
Mm-hmm.
menstruation, lots of warmth because we want to warm ourselves from the inside out. And in the summertime and in our ovulation, cooler foods are going to be tolerated much better.
Right.
So, right. So,
Right.
yeah, when do we exercise? When in a day do we exercise? When in a month do we
Yep.
exercise? What kind of exercise? No, I don't think doing high intensity training is going to be appropriate during your menstruation. Like that is saved for ovulation time. Do more deeper stretching, do more self-care, do more nourishing things during these other times. So it's just a
Oh
process.
my goodness.
Really, you can layer so many things on top
Yes.
of that when we understand our cycle and how we can begin to really nourish ourselves to be able to do what we need to do in a good way.
Absolutely. So what was that book that you mentioned before?
Yeah, so Kate Northrup's book, Do Less, is where I got the inspiration for a lot of this about a year and a half to 2 years ago. And actually, it's been almost 2 years now. And I began to implement these things in my life and
Mm-hmm.
really saw a difference in my energy levels and my capacity just by following that.
Yeah.
And I also just had so much less, we talked about guilt last week. I I've had so much less guilt about my
Mm-hmm.
choices because I knew I was listening to my body.
Yeah. And the one that I use is called In Flow by
Oh yeah,
Elisa Vitti.
she's great. Elisa Vitti is awesome. She has another
Yeah.
book too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I recommend to all my female clients. I'm not remembering it right now. It is in my bookcase here.
And
Um,
she's got an app as well, an app for your phone. So if you're into cycle
yes.
thinking and you want to track your cycles, it's a fabulous app. So I do recommend that as well.
Yeah. So tracking your cycle is a huge, huge part of this is understanding what your cycle is. And when I talk to young women in particular, when I teach young women, especially those who are just starting to menstruate, I'm always talking to them about tracking their cycles because when you understand it
Mm-hmm.
and you begin to really embody what your flow is, you will just have so much more control over what's happening in your
Absolutely.
life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Amy, for another fun discussion on, mental load, how this contributes to mental load, professional women. Tell us where we can get more of this information.
For sure. So you can always go to my website, amysaloner.com. I have a number of courses on there. One in particular where I go a little deeper into this is called The Resilient Family. Um, it's a self-study course, so it's really easy to kind of learn on your own time and pacing. I go into the 4 quadrants of resilience in body, mind, heart, and purpose, spirit. And just this piece I do a little deeper dive into these cycles and seasons. And then always just consultation, you can always reach out to me and check in. But yeah, that's how you can find me. And also on Instagram, I do share about these things, resilient family _ resilient teen, because I work with both parents and teens.
Yes, such awesome work. I have so enjoyed our conversations over this last month. I feel like we've covered the gamut. And yeah, maybe we can do this again in the future. We'll have to come up with another topic, but there's always something to talk about. So
Yeah.
thanks again, Amy, and hopefully we'll see you sometime in the future. Have a great one.
Take care.